Hello and welcome to Module 3, Lesson 2, A Framework for Communal Values in Integrated Care. This is the second lesson of Module 3 in the Integrated Care for Behavioral Health Paraprofessionals course. It is also the final recording you will receive. The course has been developed by the Grower Behavioral Health Workforce Program of the Center for Health Innovation. Purpose. The purpose of this lesson is to describe the role of a communal values framework in making integrated care the normal way that healthcare is provided. Key words to watch out for are communal values, framework, personal values, and vocabulary. Lesson objectives. Students who successfully complete this lesson will be able to list and describe the values framework for integrated care, prioritize the 18 components from the framework for values, summarize the importance of the framework, and describe the role of the paraprofessional in using communal values to make integrated care the new normal. Lesson outline. First, we'll start by talking about the framework for values. Then we'll talk about how to use the framework, and finally address making integrated care the norm. We'll recap everything in a lesson summary. I'll share with you the resources and references used to develop this lesson. And then finally, don't forget to check your understanding with the self-assessment quiz that's provided at the end of the course. You may take it as many times as you wish, but must pass with an 80% or higher. Let's start with the framework. Each team member brings personal values to the team. Effective teams have a set of communal values. Communal values create a framework, which is kind of like a thought structure, much like a physical house, that can bring together fragmented, disconnected health and social services under one roof. When enough patients, clients, providers, managers, and policymakers agree on a values framework, integrated care can become the normal way for healthcare to be provided. So as we go through this lesson, remember that right now you are at the center of a huge transition in the way that healthcare is delivered, and your role is so important. So here are the 18 values of the framework. I don't expect you to remember all of these. 18 is a lot. But let's go through them, and you can see in your course, the HTML page with the course, please review that because it has a clear definition of each one of these values, which you should become familiar with. So, integrated care in the communal values of changing to a system that is reliant on integrated rather than fragmented care value the following 18 things. It's coordinated. People work together and the care works together. It's trustful. Responsibility and accountability are shared. It's holistic. It addresses the whole person's needs. It's co-produced. There is no one producer of health care. It's co-produced by patients and by teams. It's continuous. Health is a dynamic dance that we all perform every day when we wake up in the morning, ranging from brushing our teeth to choosing what we're going to eat for breakfast to whether we're going to get out for our morning run. So it's continuous. It changes. It never goes away. It's flexible. It's empowering. We don't empower others, but we provide a structure that allows people to empower themselves, whether they are a provider or a receiver of health care. It's person-centered. The person who's receiving the care is the owner of the care. It's respectful, both among colleagues and among care recipients. It's led by whole systems thinking, recognizing that entire systems need to change in order for this care to be delivered in an effective and integrated way. It's comprehensive. It looks at all parts of both the system and the patient's needs. It's collaborative. Nobody is the boss. We have leaders, but no bosses. It's preventative, so it focuses on keeping people out of hospitals, out of emergency rooms, off of ambulances, getting them the primary care and the behavioral health care they need to live well. It's efficient, it's reciprocal, transparently shared, and effective. Again, please review the table in the course webpage for this module, for this lesson, which contains full definitions of each one of these. So how do you use this framework as a paraprofessional or as someone working with paraprofessionals? When teams use the 18-item value framework, they are better able to share their views, interests, and goals with other team members, both individual and organizational. And by that I mean that if you are coming to providing healthcare using these 18 items, this is what I really value about integrated care, you're able to communicate not only with your own team members, but all the way up the food chain in your organization to say that these are the values that we believe our organization needs. And in turn, those values become adopted by communities and then get ensconced in policies that help to make integrated care happen. You can use that framework to communicate with your colleagues, with your clients, and with the community. This is a place where you can talk about what you do every day and how it rests on these shared framework of values. These 18 values, once we all agree on them, create a shared vocabulary. So if you're working on a team and you say that you value shared accountability, and if everyone can agree on those values, then you've got something to talk with your other team members or your client, that accountability is shared. That's one of the things we value in this framework. So it becomes a vocabulary that we have specific meanings to these terms within the framework of integrated care. So if everyone agrees that integrated team-based care should be based on these 18 values that are defined by the framework, then there's a yardstick. How well are we doing? Are we delivering the care that actually matches these 18 values? And when you insist that care that you deliver or that somebody else on your team delivers reflects these values, your colleagues and clients, if we've all agreed on this framework, can understand its importance. It's not just you out there saying, hey, I think it's really, really important that we have mutual trust. Everybody's already agreed that we have mutual trust. The values framework highlights the central importance of the behavioral health paraprofessional on the high-performing integrated care team. You're not an adjunct, not an afterthought, not somebody that they see after they've received the real health care in the clinic. And you're not optional. You're central to this team, because your role is founded on the ability to sew together care that matches all 18 of these values. It's coordinated, trustful, holistic, co-produced, collaborative, reciprocal, and effective. And I could go on with all 18 of those, but you wouldn't want to hear me talking for that long, and I got tired of typing. But everything that you do is based on these values. The value of shared responsibility and accountability, specifically, I do want to point out, is reflected in the core concept that we've discussed throughout this course of doing with, not for, your clients. And you as a paraprofessional are at the forefront of that shift. So how do we use these things, everything we've really learned in this course, and how do we use this framework to make integrated care the norm? Because if you're anything like me or like most of the people out there, I think we now understand how critically important it is for us to integrate care to be sure that people get what they need and move toward wellness. Integrating care requires that healthcare workers interact differently with each other and with patients. It requires changes in clinic spaces, digital record keeping and other technologies, workflows, clinical protocols, and more. We've talked about all these logistical and practical aspects of integrating primary and behavioral health care. They're challenging and they're necessary. Are we co-located? How do we use electronic health records to make sure everybody is up to date and informed? How do we develop those communication skills? All of those things are essential. But ultimately, none of those things will succeed unless the care is built on a set of values and expectations. The values framework described in this lesson forms that foundation for lasting change. When we have that, we have a guiding light that we can use to make those physical changes in our workspaces and our technologies and our workflows, and we can to learn what skills we need. But without that values framework, we don't know where we're going. We're just going on a road trip and we're wandering aimlessly. The values framework, to switch metaphors here, tells us what we want the house to look like once it's built. So I want you to pause as we conclude here. Imagine a future in which every person has access to the care they need when they need it, where primary care, behavioral health, and other health care and social needs are addressed under the same roof, where mental illness and behavioral issues, including substance use, poor nutrition, physical inactivity, and risk-taking, are treated alongside physical needs. And when I say roof, I mean both the roof of the clinic and the roof of our framework of values, our little thought experiment here. In this future, patients expect to be able to access care that addresses their physical, mental, and emotional health, and that is linked to the behavioral, social, and economic realities of their lives. That's their expectation when they go to the doctor. They expect to receive care not just from the doctor, but from an entire team of skilled carers. They take it for granted that someone who's been there will walk through their experiences with them, help them get the care they need, and support them to participate in their own care. Patients will expect to be treated as co-creators of their own health and well-being. In that future, integrated care is the norm. It is the way that health care is delivered. As a behavioral health paraprofessional, you are a very, very important part of that future. And I thank you for stepping up into this wonderful, challenging, and amazing career. Lesson summary, a quick recap. Effective teams have a set of communal values that allow them to provide integrated care to their communities. When enough patients, clients, providers, managers, and policymakers agree on a values framework, integrated care can become the normal way for healthcare to be provided. 18 communal values underpin integrated team-based health services. How to use the framework. When teams use the 18-item values framework, each team member is better able to share their views, interests, and goals with other team members. As a paraprofessional, you can use the framework to communicate with colleagues, clients, and the community. The 18 values defined in the framework allow everyone to use a shared vocabulary of values. Using this vocabulary, clients, clinicians, administrators, and other paraprofessionals can communicate about their goals and actions. The paraprofessional's role is founded on the ability to sew together care that is coordinated, trustful, holistic, co-produced, collaborative, reciprocal, and effective. The value of shared responsibility and accountability is reflected in the core concept of doing with, not for, the client. Finally, making integrated care the norm. Integrating care requires that healthcare workers interact differently with each other and with patients. For integrated care to succeed, it must be built on a set of values and expectations. The values framework described in this lesson forms the foundation for lasting change. In the future, integrated care will be the normal way that healthcare is delivered. You are part of that future. References used. And finally, don't forget to check your understanding with the self-assessment quiz that's available at the end of this lesson. You may take it as many times as you wish and must pass with an 80% to move on to the final post-test for the course. Thank you for being with me. It has been a pleasure. The Integrated Care curriculum for behavioral health paraprofessionals has been developed by the Grow Our Behavioral Health Workforce program of the Center for Health Innovation with funding from the Health Resources and Services Administration. Thank you and good luck.